Thanks, James. Yes, I just wanted to say a few words just to set the scene, really, for the conference and this series of conferences as well. This, as James said, this is the second in our Mobilizing Business series. We created that series because, as a world-leading business school, our interest really is in the big global challenges and the way business, academia, policymakers can come together to try and tackle those. Last year, the conference was about climate change, and that was in the wake of the Paris conference. And clearly, climate change is possibly the greatest global challenge. But I think delivering healthcare to as many people as possible, at as high a quality as possible, and as affordably and sustainably as possible is perhaps the second biggest challenge. So I think it made sense that we organized our second annual conference around the global challenges of healthcare and how business can contribute to addressing those. We're launching a new Centre for Health Economics and Policy Innovation in May, and we'll perhaps hear a little bit more about that later on, but the director of the centre is Franco Sassi, who is sitting here. But the new centre is really going to be dedicated to addressing these big issues. And I mean, I'm not going to overburden you with PowerPoint slides. I've just got 3, I think, or 4. But I think it's worth just picking up some of the points that James made and just getting us all to think about what those big issues are. And first of all, of course, aging. Billion extra people aged over 60 over the next 35 years. Well, I turned 60 in January, so 60 is not old, but 300 million of those will be over 85. So aging and all the associated challenges of that is clearly one huge problem or huge challenge for both developed and many parts of the developing world now. Franco is an expert on obesity who worked in the World Health, in OECD, and about 2.1 billion people in the world are overweight, nearly 30% of the population globally, and about 600 million are obese. So again, big problems for health systems associated with that. And then James mentioned AMR, antimicrobial resistance. The O'Neill report suggested it might cumulatively cost the world's health systems $100 trillion, I think it's a trillion, yes, $100 trillion over the next 30 years or so. And I think the number of deaths from AMR was projected in that report to rise to about 10 million a year if we don't do anything about it. So big issues. And where does business fit into this picture? Last slide. We spend something like $8 trillion a year globally on healthcare, and about 2 trillion of that is on the inputs, the drugs, the medical devices, the IT, and the built environment for healthcare. We spend as much on the built environment as we do on medical devices. So clearly, business has a huge role to play in tackling these global challenges. But there are big issues for business as well. We know we need innovation, but innovation is hard. It's difficult. It's difficult for businesses. Certainly the drug industry I was talking to Chaz Buntra this morning about picking off the low-hanging fruit, and now it's the really difficult stuff that needs to be dealt with. And increasingly, medtech is facing the same challenges. So we need to rethink what we mean by innovation and how we do it from a business perspective. And we'll hear from Rebecca Fogg from the Clayton Christensen Institute this afternoon about disruptive innovation, delivering affordable, simpler, good enough solutions, and what that means in healthcare. And of course, from the other side of the coin, from the perspective of policymakers, healthcare providers, innovation is a bit of a double-edged sword. You know, we know we want it, we need it, but it costs money, and a lot of technological innovation in healthcare actually increases our ability to do things and rises costs. So innovation is an issue, and it takes a long time for many innovations to become embedded in practice, as I'm sure a lot of you in the room are well aware of. So the task today really is about tackling these big global healthcare, health system, health policy challenges largely from a business angle, but clearly business doesn't operate in a vacuum, and we need to think about the financial and policy implications as well. In the last year or so, I've spoken at pharmaceutical industry conferences, med tech conferences, healthcare built environment conferences, but it's very rare to get everybody in the room together, and people from the finance side as well, to get them in the room at the same time. So I think I'm very pleased that we have representation from right across the board, and including some people from policy background as well. So it's going to be a fascinating day, I know, and I hope you're going to enjoy it and get a lot out of it. So that's enough from me.